Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind. So it continues. Joe Biden simply doesn't get it, or I guess the Biden team doesn't get it, because obviously, let's be real, Joe Biden doesn't get anything. But after the last 2 years of economic crises, inflation issues, hashtag Bidenomics essentially failing, you would expect Team Biden to get the message at this point to stop taking ridiculous victory laps as American citizens are struggling to simply get by. And maybe a month ago, it seemed as though maybe they were starting to get the message. Slowly, we started to see less and less Bidenomics rhetoric, but that didn't exactly last too long. It seems as though we're right back to where we started, as it seems the Biden team is starting off 2024 by telling Americans, things are just swell and just great, thanks to Joe Biden's accomplishments. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. Let's add some reality to the conversation here. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so here was Joe Biden's message on New Year's Eve.
As you look back and reflect on 2023, what sort of memories, highlights stand out for you?
Well, one of the big highlights stands out for me is my dad used to have an expression. He'd say, Joey, a job's about a lot more than the paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. So many people through the Midwest and the center of the country, their factories are shipped overseas the last couple of times out, and they were losing hope and faith. So we brought a lot of jobs back to the United States. People are in a position to be able to make a living now. And they've created a lot of jobs, over 14 million. And I guess I just feel good that the American people got up. They've been through a rough time with pandemic, but now we're coming back. They're back.
So well said, so eloquent. Their factors were shipped overseas the last couple times out. Friends, once again, I'm just gonna say that is the President of the United States. He is a bumbling buffoon. But the most frustrating element is once again the tone-deaf nature of his rhetoric. I think what most people want is Joe Biden to basically acknowledge what's currently going on and to present a hopeful future, but what this guy continues to do is attempt to take credit. Taking credit for creating millions of jobs and bringing manufacturing back to the US. Joe Biden never did that, something that never happened under the Biden administration. Of course, what he's referencing is people going back to work after the pandemic. He then claims that people are able to make a living now. Again, it's almost as if he doesn't know what's going on. You turn on the leftist media, and of course they're doing Joe Biden's bidding. He specifically requested that they report more favorably on his supposed economic success.
About the economy, sir, what's your outlook on the economy next year?
All good. Take a look. Start reporting it the right way.
As per usual, acting like a dictator, using the media, promote his propaganda, similar to what you see from state media and communist regimes. And trust me, they're doing it. But the reality is, and we've covered the data over the last 2 years, is that the middle class is shrinking under Bidenomics. I only really need to show you guys one chart to prove that claim, and that's this right over here. Share of corporate equities and mutual fund shares held by the top 1%. Here's the percentage of equities held by the wealthiest 10%. It shot up to 92.5%, which is a more than 10% increase since the 2008 recession. In other words, Joe Biden's economy is working great if you're a major corporation or an individual top 1% earner. Joe Biden's economy is working for the wealthiest few, while regular people are getting poorer. Funny considering supposedly Bidenomics is supposed to build the economy from the bottom up. It's an absolute scam. Every time you turn on the TV these days, they tell you Bidenomics is working. Just look at the stock market. Look at the jobs numbers. But what does that have to do with building the middle class? Absolutely nothing. And it's funny, a little bit ironic, considering every single time Donald Trump was celebrating stock market rallies and touting his economic success, Democrat detractors kept saying, well, the stock market isn't a great way to assess the economy and how it's working for average Americans. That was the standard during the Trump years, but now with Joe Biden, the stock market seems to be the end-all be-all. Folks, if the stock market is rallying, it's great. I'm not going to say it isn't, but it's mostly great for people with money. Those at the bottom of the economic ladder, in some cases, don't even own stock, and they rent. They're not part of the asset class. They're not getting richer during times of crises. They're not getting richer during asset bubbles and asset inflation. That's a privilege for the elite few. In other words, the Democrat Party's demographic. They've become the party of the rich elite, the party of Wall Street. And the funniest part, again, kind of ironic, Joe Biden's economic policies have helped further enrich the richest amongst us, the wealthiest and most privileged few. Yet the rhetoric that comes out of the White House is always talking about the little guy.
So look, the president has always put equity at the center of every policy he's put forward, every legislation that he's put forward, because we understand that many communities have been left behind, We're not trying to do the trickle-down economics. We really, truly are not.
Equity. The president is focused on equity at the center of every policy that he's put forward. Now, that has to be literally one of the most concerning things I've ever heard anybody from the White House say. Essentially, what they're saying is communist ideals are at the center of all their policies, but it's really not that concerning because it's complete BS. It's simply a social justice marketing term that Democrat politicians use to say, we care about poor people, while shafting poor people at every single turn available. The reality is, more Americans are living paycheck to paycheck than ever before. The reality is, credit card debt and debt in general is at the highest level it's ever been. Inflation is through the roof. Karine Jean-Pierre keeps saying that Joe Biden is focused on reducing prices.
And so we're hoping, what we want to do is continue to focus on Bidenomics and continue on lowering costs and prices for the American people.
Yet prices have gone up during Joe Biden's entire term in office. We're focused on reducing prices. We care about the little guy. Meanwhile, homelessness is at the highest level it's ever been. We covered that a couple days. Food bank usage is at pretty much the highest level it's ever been. People are suffering, but this is the rhetoric.
So look, I want to take a step back for just a moment as we look at 24, and we're in 24, but just a step back. This president has done more in 3 years than any other president has done in 2 terms.
You serious? Joe Biden has accomplished more in 3 years than any other president has done in 2. They actually said that. As nuts as it is, it's almost as if they're trying to take a page out of Donald Trump's playbook. They're trying to boast about their successes. But the only issue is, well, you gotta have a track record of success before you start boasting. Otherwise, you look like a complete moron. If you perform really well and everyone's doing really well, you can come out and say, look, we're absolutely killing it. We've implemented all kinds of policies. It seems as though it's working. Americans are doing better than ever before. That was the reality under the Trump years. Taxes were down, salaries were up, inflation was steady below 2%, the stock market rallied like never before, historic rallies, historic gains, historic wealth creation, not just from the top 1%, but even for those at the bottom. And so it made sense. With Joe Biden, it makes no sense. It's a slap in the face and they still don't get it. This guy could have literally said anything but what he said. Karine Jean-Pierre could have said anything. Any New Year's message, literally anything, would have been better than a giant slap in the face to hardworking Americans. But as per usual, a slap in the face is what you get here in the Biden years. And so I guess pretty much not much has changed. The Democrat Party is elitist, out of touch, and as per usual, they're full of crap. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.